Welcome to Mind Prosperity. We are so excited to see you guys again, and thank you for watching our videos. Thank you for watching the videos where I speak. Thank you for watching the interviews. We believe all of them are going to enhance your life and help you. Today I'm going to give you 6 things on how to deal with anxious thoughts. You know, anxious thoughts is something we all face from time to time. We all have them. We all might have them at different extents. We might have them for different reasons. But it's things that happen to us. You know, anxiety happens because you have this fear about the future. Things are unpredictable. You don't know how things are going to end up. You don't know how things are going to happen. And therefore you get to this place where you have anxious thoughts. So I'm going to give you guys 6 things on how to deal with anxious thoughts. And when I speak about these 6 things, it might happen that one of them stands out for you more than the other one because you feel like you resonate with it more, you feel like you struggle with it more, you feel like you have to apply it more. So for every single person that's watching, it's not that all 6 of them are going to apply equally, but I want you to identify which one or which ones are really helping you, or really things that you have to deal with, or things that you have to work on. So I hope you are ready. I'm going to give you number 1, the first thing that you can do to deal with anxious thoughts, and that is don't run away from them. And when I say don't run away from them, I don't say physically run, because obviously you cannot physically just run away from anxious thoughts. When I say don't run away from them, what I do mean is don't just try to get rid of them or avoid them immediately. Those are things that we are tending to do, if that's the correct way of saying it, is we just try to get away from anxious thoughts, not think them, not feel them. And it's kind of like this elimination effect. I don't want to think about this, I don't want to feel this. And that might help you for a short time, but research has shown that if you try to get rid of a thought for a short time, in the long term it might even have more negative effects, because it builds up. So I think it's important to feel it. I think it's important to have it there. And maybe you try to dim it for a bit, or maybe you try to lighten the burden for a bit, and I think that's okay. But feeling an anxious thought is not necessarily a bad thing, because that's the only place we can deal with it. So when the anxious thought comes, the first thing you should do is allow yourself to feel it. Allow yourself to sit in it for a little while, because it's at that place that you can really deal with it. Now, the second thing that I want to give to you is try to lean in to what makes you anxious. And when I say lean in, I'm not saying, take a hold of it and run with it. The first one is don't run away from it. The second one is not run with it, but lean into it. Let me give you an example. Say, for instance, you have social anxiety. I'm not saying, get hundreds of people together, or even 10 people together, and just mingle and just lean into this thing. That's not what I mean. What I do mean is, if you get invited to a social gathering, try to go hang out with 1 or 2 people. Lean into the situation. I'm not saying you have to be in that situation for the whole evening. I'm not saying you have to spend time with everybody. I'm not saying you have to reveal your biggest secrets and just trust everybody as you get there. But allow yourself to get out. Allow yourself in the situation. If you perhaps have afraid of heights, I'm not saying go for a parachute jump, or go bungee jumping, or go to the highest tower and just look down. But allow yourself to get into some situations where you can feel it and deal with it, because the more you run away from it and the more you don't lean in, the more that thing is going to stick. So allow yourself a bit to lean into some things and to lean in some situations that makes you anxious, but do it in a safe way. Do it in a way that you still cannot get hurt. And I think as you do it, the more and more you do it, the more and more you can lean in. The more and more you lean in, the more and more you will feel like you're okay with the situation and you can handle it. The third thing that I want to deal with, that I want to give to you, is deal with rumination and overthinking. And I also have a session on Mind Prosperity on rumination, overthinking, and how really to deal with it. But rumination and overthinking is kind of rumination. The difference between rumination and overthinking: ruminating is to think the same thought over and over and over again repetitively. Now, repetition is a very interesting and a very important thing, because whatever you do in repetition eventually goes into your subconscious mind. Whatever eventually goes into your subconscious mind becomes your habit. And that's why ruminating can be so dangerous. So identify thoughts that you're ruminating. Identify thoughts that you think over and over and over and over. And at number 4, I'm going to tell you how to deal with that. So just wait for number 4. But in number 3, I want to tell you when you ruminate, when you think a thought over and over and over, learn to lessen that. And then overthinking. The difference between ruminating and overthinking is when you take a thought and you just make it way bigger than what it actually is. Okay. And now a lot of people put a combination between the two. They overthink, meaning they make it bigger, and then they ruminate, meaning they do it over and over and over again. Okay, so at number 4, like I said, I'm going to teach you how to deal with that. Before I get there, I want to encourage you to subscribe to this channel. If you believe these messages help you, ring the bell so that you can get notifications. Leave a comment. A comment can be a statement that you want to make or a question that you want to ask, and we can maybe answer those questions later. And if this means something to you, you can send it to some people. I also do sessions in groups, individuals, and in businesses on emotional intelligence, thinking, and mindset. So if you want to contact me, my email address will be on the screen. And also I want to encourage you to visit our website at www.mindprosperity.co.za. You can make contact with me via my website, and we also have other materials that you guys can check out. Now, number 4, that is really important when you get to that place where you feel like you're ruminating or overthinking. You have to replace a thought. Now, science teaches us that you think every 3 seconds, and you think about 80,000 thoughts a day. And research also tells us that 80% of the thoughts that you think are negative, or normal people, 80% of the thoughts they think are negative, and 90% of the thoughts are the same as the previous day. This is why it's so important to capture your thoughts and replace a thought. So how do you replace a thought? Imagine you have a spotlight and there's a lot of things happening around you. And you cannot deny what's happening around you. You cannot deny its existence, but you can decide what you want to focus the spotlight on. So if you are thinking a negative thought, if you are anxious, if you are starting to ruminate on something, I'm not saying, totally get rid of it and act as if it's not there. I'm telling you to replace it. How do you replace it? You think a different thought. You think a good thought. You think about what can be a good outcome. You think about how this can end maybe in a positive way. What are the good things that can come out of this? And you're not denying the bad things, but you decide to put the spotlight at a different place, or you decide to put the spotlight somewhere else. So imagine your imagination. That's actually a very interesting thing to say. But imagine your imagination is like a spotlight. There's a lot of things that are happening. There's a lot of things that you can think about. There's a lot of things that can make you anxious. But you can decide where you direct the spotlight to. Number 5, and it also links to number 4, don't always believe the worst case scenario. Because when we get anxious, it's kind of, we get to this place where our bodies wants to protect us. We see this fearful situation, we see this anxious situation, we see this bad thing that can happen, and our body is now starting to warn us, and it's saying, listen, you have to be alert, you have to watch out, something bad might come out of this, and that's where we ruminate, that's where we overthink, and that's where we have to shift the spotlight. So don't always think about the worst case scenario. Like I said, our brains tend to do that because it wants to protect us. And I'm also not saying deny the situation, but going back to number 4, we can focus the spotlight elsewhere. Number 6, and I want to end with number 6, don't just look externally, look internally. Because a lot of times we blame external circumstances for what's happening, we blame external circumstances for what's going on, and we don't look internally. Meaning we can say, maybe this is not something externally that's causing the anxiety. Maybe it's something within me that's taking the external situation, making the external situation bigger. And because I'm making the external situation bigger, it's something within me that's causing me to become more anxious than I should. So say, for instance, you grew up as a child and you didn't get the admiration from your parents that you should have. You didn't get the encouragement that you should have. And because of that, you feel insecure. And now that you feel insecure, everything other people are saying to you comes as a threat. So somebody might correct you or say something in a very gracious, generous way to help you, and you see it as this threat. And because of your insecurity, you are blowing this thing up, and this is making you anxious. So in that moment, just stop and ask yourself the question, is it the external situation that's causing me to feel like this, or is there something internally that I haven't dealt with that's taking this situation and it's blowing it up much bigger than it actually should be? Then you look within and saying, listen, I'm not going to evaluate and ask myself, is it just the external circumstances, but is it something within me? And remember, a lot of times it's something within you that's causing something to look more true than what it actually is. This is why it's very important to sit and to deal with what is within. Because if you are insecure within, if you don't like yourself, if you don't think good about yourself, then every single thing happening around you and every single thing people say will come as a threat. Meaning, if somebody says something that might sound negative, you might get defensive, you might get anxious because of some things within you that are now coming out as defense mechanisms. If somebody says something good about you, you immediately say, thank you, but this and this and this and this are also bad things in my life that continually happens. So what I want to encourage you is, if things like that happen, don't always look on the outside or externally and try to change the external environment, but look on the inside and say, but listen, why am I reacting this way? Am I maybe insecure towards myself? Do I maybe have a bad view towards myself? And if yes, what are some things that caused this to happen? Now, coming back to the beginning, this is where you sometimes have to sit with your anxious thoughts. This is where you sometimes have to sit with your anxious feelings and say, okay, I'm not going to run away from it anymore, but I'm just going to lean in a little bit. Because as I feel it, as I acknowledge it, that's the place where I can start to deal with it. If I don't feel it whatsoever, if I don't lean into it whatsoever, that means I don't have the opportunity to deal with it. But if I feel it little by little, if I lean into it little by little, and if I ask the question little by little, what is it within me that's causing me to feel these anxious thoughts? That's where we can turn the spotlight a bit. That's where we can think different a bit. That's where the healing process begins. So I want to encourage you, if you are anxious about things, identify them, feel them, heal them, lean into them a bit, and don't always run away from those feelings because you want to get stronger. If I want to make my physical body stronger, I cannot run away from heavy weights. I have to pick them up. And if I get comfortable with one weight, I have to make it a little bit heavier. And if I get comfortable with that weight, I have to make it a bit heavier. And it's the same with your emotions. Sometimes you have to lean in a bit, feel it a bit, deal with it, grow in it. And you're going to get to a place where you realize, externally, things are actually, there's like a lot of pressure on the outside, but on the inside, I feel more peace, I feel more calm than ever before because I've exercised my mind muscles, if I can say that, my mental muscles, my imagination muscles, my emotional muscles. It's been exercised. The reason a lot of people don't deal with anxiety or don't heal from it is because they always want to run away. They don't want to do the internal work and they don't want to heal. Or they do want to heal, let me correct that, they do want to heal, but they don't want to feel. And that sounds like a nice rap song. But it's very important to feel, and when I say it's very important to feel, I don't mean you have to feel like in this extensive way, but it's important to lean into feel because that's where you deal with things. So I hope this video helped you. Thank you so much for watching. From Mind Prosperity, we love you and we'll see you soon again. Goodbye.